the playoffs, and there's no atmosphere quite that can match it.
I think this is the greatest. Carolina gets its glory today, and it's something that on this field you have the Dallas Cowboys, Super Bowl champions, defending their world championship. You get the Carolina Panthers. Who would have thought? Here's a team that wasn't even a team 3 years ago, and they're just 2 games away from the Super Bowl. And then it all boils down to the finality of it, that they're going to play out here today, and at the end of the day, one season, one team is going to be finished for the season, and the other one is going to go on and play the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field.
Who would have thought, indeed, just 2 years ago this team began. They've thrived so far on defense, as have the Dallas Cowboys. What kind of game do you expect?
Well, you know, because of that, I think it's both of these teams have thrived not only on their defense but on their kicking game, their field goal kickers, that type of game. I kind of expect a low-scoring game. Now Carolina does it different. They use the 3-man line. They use a lot of blitzes. I think they're going to try and confuse the Cowboys. The Cowboys just have a good, basic, standard defense. Now, when you have good defenses, you have to do 2 things. And I think both of these teams are going to have to do these 2 things. 1, run the ball, and 2, pass protect.
All right, welcome back to Ericsson Stadium. Joining me now, Barry Switzer. Barry, a turbulent week, obviously. Is the team focused and concentration where it should be right now?
No question about it. We're focused. No distractions this week. The media was out of our camp, so we were able to get focused on what we had to do. Hopefully we will be able to attain our goal today.
You had an extra day to prepare for Dom Capers' zone blitz defense. What do you see? What do you got to do to beat it?
Well, we're going to find out today. We've had to work a lot on our back stand in and protection, double read with the offensive guard and lineman with the back. So we hopefully we can handle it. We have before, very few times we've seen it, but they're the best at it.
All right, Coach. Thanks a lot.
Hi, Elijah.
Good luck. All right, Pat, John, let's go back up to you guys.
Well, Ryan Pitts, of course, his father is Elijah Pitts, who played in so many great distinguished years with the Green Bay Packers, now on the Buffalo Bills coaching staff. The Carolina team has won the toss, and Michael Bates, who is really dangerous. Dom Capers, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, has done such an outstanding job. Jim Swantz, you look at, he's been great on special teams, headed for the Pro Bowl. Boniol, the kickoff. And Bates will handle it at the 5. If he breaks it, all you do is watch. Swantz missed, but made him change direction. Let's look at the Carolina Panther offense. Kerry Collins, their young quarterback. He's been very good. Campbell, Elliott, Garcia, Skrepenak, Norberto Garrido, the rookie right tackle. Anthony Johnson over 1,000 yards. Howard Griffith in front of him. Green, Carrier, and Walls. Those who will handle the ball. Johnson. Good yardage. Let's look at the Cowboy defense. They've lost key people throughout the year, but they've been able to step up and get it done. Shante Carver. Charles Haley was there last year. Tony Casillas, Leon Lett was there earlier this year. Chad Hennings and Tony Tolbert. Smith, Strickland, and Broderick Thomas will start at linebacker. The secondary unmatched. 2nd and 2. Johnson hit by Strickland. Didn't get the first, I don't think. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Johnny Greer is the referee.
I wonder how many more times Anthony Johnson is going to cut back with Fred Strickland in there. You know, the middle linebacker, once the ball goes away from you, watch Fred Strickland, once the ball starts here, you have to stay a little inside of that for that cutback. And that's exactly what Strickland does. You see, he starts in there, and he stays right inside that thing, and then when it cuts back, he's right there for it.
1st and 10. Collins back to throw it. Has plenty of time. Incomplete. Mark Carrier, the intended receiver, covered and covered well.
Now they want to pass interference on that, and I think that's one of the things that Carolina is going to try and do today is to work on Kevin Smith out there. Not that Kevin Smith is an easy guy to beat, but they think that he does have a lot of pass interference. I think he had more pass interference penalties than anyone in the league. And they think if they throw the ball out there on him, they have two chances. One, to catch the ball, and two, to get an interference penalty.
None of the four in that secondary are easy to beat. Collins gives to Johnson. Johnson moves the pile up to midfield.
They found something in there behind Matt Campbell, the left tackle, and Matt Elliott, the left guard. This is where they're running. They're running right in here. They got the strong side on this side. They're just taking the ball right in here, getting a good block here and a good block here. You see the double team? Then the lead starts inside, goes outside. Anthony Johnson starts to follow the leg and then made that cutback and made the yardage that time.
The double team is what did it on Casillas.
That's a way to create a hole.
3 wide receivers this time. Collins will throw. Picked off by Darren Woodson, a diving interception. Dallas ball. What a year he's had.
Yeah, Darren Woodson, he really, when you play 3 wide receivers, Darren Woodson, normally the strong safety becomes a corner. He plays on the slot guy. And that time he just played a man for man. You see, here's Darren Woodson. He's on the slot right here, and he just takes a man for man. The ball's thrown. See, he has carrier. The ball's thrown a little short, but Woodson made a heck of an effort to get to that ball.
So it's first down Cowboys as they get the first turnover. We'll get to their lineup in just a moment. Troy Aikman, of course, is the quarterback, back to throw it. Screen pass. He's trying to set up, throws it away. Nothing there. Let's look at that offense. It happened so fast. After the interception by Woodson, Troy Aikman 11-1 as a starter in postseason games. He lost the one time to San Francisco. In front of him, that veteran big offensive line, Tuanay Newton, Donaldson, Allen, and Williams. Emmitt Smith will be deep. Darrell Johnston in front of him. Kevin Williams, Michael Irvin wide, and Eric Bjornsson, the tight end. He's to the right. Carolina puts pressure on the quarterback. And here they come. Aikman gets rid of it to Irvin. Irvin stays on his feet. Run down by Lamar Latham. Let's look at the Carolina defense. They'll be tested. Irvin stays down. There's a member of Carolina's team also down, the defensive unit. Those are the linebackers, Latham, Bailey, Mills, and Kevin Green. And the secondary, Tyrone Poole, Brett Maxey, Eric Davis, and Pat Terrell. Here are the 2 players that are down.
I think that's Pat Terrell, who's the strong safety for the Panthers. And then Michael Irvin, who caught that pass on that slant, or the end, is still down.
He broke a tackle.
Troy Aikman did a heck of a job of reading that blitz. The Cowboys picked it up, and he got rid of it to Michael Irvin.
No score in the first quarter. 0-0 first quarter. Michael Irvin shaken after he caught that first pass from Aikman. His place has been taken by Kelvin Martin.
And I think something happened to Ray Donaldson too, Pat, because Derek Kennard is now at center.
That I missed. Here's Emmitt Smith to the Carolina 25-24. Stopped by Latham.
I think that something on that same play. Michael Irvin was hurt, and Ray Donaldson must have been, because he went out, and then they brought in Derek Kennard. Hey, just watch. This was a blitz when Ray Donaldson was picking up the blitz. Emmitt Smith picked up the blitz. Looked like Donaldson was okay, and then he just walked off when they took Michael Irvin off.
Yeah.
And they brought in Derek Kennard.
Here comes a safety blitz, and the Cowboys give to Emmitt Smith. Our information is that Ray Donaldson just had some problems with his equipment. There's nothing wrong with him.
Yeah, well, then he'll come right back in. But Michael Irvin has something more than that. You can see that they're working up there in his shoulder or clavicle area. And here was the play. He's going to run a slant in here on Tyrone Poole. Tyrone Poole, the corner, falls down right there. Irvin catches the ball there. Pat Terrell misses it. And watch as Lamar Latham tackles him. He drives his shoulder into the ground.
3rd and 1, and Emmitt Smith burrows over the right side and gets the Cowboy first down. Sam Mills stopped him at the Carolina 20. On that pass completion, from Aikman to Irvin. Really, you got to give this guy some credit too for picking up that blitz.
I think Emmitt Smith is going to be real big in this game. One, you know that if the Cowboys offensively are going to be successful, they have to be able to run the ball. But number two, in pass protection, Emmitt Smith is very important because he has to pick up that 5th or 6th guy when they blitz.
And there's none better at that than he is. Here's Aikman back to throw the blitz again. Pass is caught and shoved out of bounds as Kevin Williams, as Aikman is right on the money.
Yeah, Aikman is always right on the money, and I think that he's so good at getting rid of the ball quickly. One of the things is you have to be able to pick up the blitz. You got the stun in the middle. You got right there. Did you see the job that Emmitt Smith again in there? He stepped up in there, took away the blitzer, and that allowed Troy Aikman to step up and throw that ball out there to Kevin Williams.
1st and goal at the 3.
And you can talk about your offensive line being blockers, but Emmitt Smith today will be a big part of pass protection.
That was Ray Donaldson. They were working on an equipment problem. This is Emmitt Smith. Right side for maybe a yard. Behind Darryl Johnson.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, we give credit to the offensive line for the running game, and we forget on this Dallas Cowboy team, we forget Moose Johnston.
Oh, yeah.
And I think when you talk about pass protection on this team, I think you tend to forget Emmitt Smith, and he's equally as important as that offensive line, especially against this scheme today.
The opponents don't forget about him.
That's why Emmitt Smith is a complete back.
2nd and goal at the 2. Aikman to throw. He's going to hurry. He does. Incomplete. Intended for Eric Bjornson, who couldn't come up with it. Carolina coming with a blitz again. From the cornerbacks.
Yeah, that's the thing that you get. And you see, he did get that ball away, but it was just a split second before he won it. And this is exactly what Carolina wants to do. They want to bring linebackers. They want to bring safeties. You know they have guys coming, but you don't know who's coming, nor do you know where they're coming from. That was an extra linebacker that they played down in the goal line.
Andre Royal. Michael Irvin leaving the field and headed inside. Here's how he got hurt.
Yeah, you see, Tyrone Poole fell down and he made one tackle or missed. And right there, that was Lamar Lathan on a good, hard, legal tackle. Just drove his shoulder right into the ground.
He went into the tunnel. That is a live picture. A sprained right shoulder is the word we have. He must be headed for x-rays because he went up the chute to the Carolina side of the field. This is Emmitt Smith, and he's not going to get in. Fumble.
Heck of a play by Sam Mills. Even if they don't give him the fumble, by keeping that inside leverage, there was no place for Emmitt Smith to cut back.
They're going to say the ball is down, I believe. And Chris Boniol will come on.
But watch the job that number 51 Sam Mills does. In fact, he has to go over one of his own guys. He had that inside. Emmitt Smith was looking to cut back there, and he just dives over and makes the play. Now again, what they're saying that his knee was down and the whistle blew before the ball came out. You can see that his knee was down, but you don't know when the whistle blew.
And Boniol puts the Cowboys ahead 3-0. The X-ray room at Erickson Stadium has been opened.
Yeah, there was just a minute ago when Michael Irvin first went there, the X-ray room wasn't open, so he had to sit outside the door. They've opened it since, and he is inside that X-ray room right now.
Again, the word we got was a sprained right shoulder, but they're checking to make sure that's the correct diagnosis.
And it was on a good, hard tackle by Lamar Lathan, who really hustled to get in position to make the tackle. In fact, Lathan on that drive made 3 tackles, but that last big defensive play was middle linebacker Sam Mills' play.
Sam Mills has been doing that for a long, long time. Here is Boniol's kickoff, and Bates set to return it. And he can go. Collided with Herschel Walker. Anthony Johnson.
You know, this so far has been a typical Dallas game. Real strong defense. They get a turnover. Then their offense gets the ball, gets good field position, moves it pretty well, but again, gets down inside that red zone and can't score a touchdown. They're having more and more trouble. They used to run it in there, and you know, and part of it may be passing to Jay Novacek, but they can't run it in when they get down there anymore. They're stacking up against the run.
That's pretty much happened all around the league. Here's Collins back to throw. Almost picked off by Kevin Smith. Intended for Carrier.
You know, that was one of the things that Dom Capers said. He said that we have to be able to run the ball and we have to win the battles on the outside. And these are the battles on the outside that he's talking about that they have to win. Kevin Smith won that battle. Earlier on a third down, it was Darren Woodson who won a battle against Mark Carrier with the interception.
3rd and 9. 3 wide receivers for Carolina. Here comes a Dallas blitz, and Collins is lucky he got rid of this one. And flags on the play.
Yep, they got Kevin Smith that time.
Kevin Smith. They're going to talk this one over. That one was not catchable, I know. Collins was just trying to throw it away.
But I still think that the guy can't grab him when the ball's in the air.
They're going to talk it over. They did.
have 2 fouls on the defense. Holding, number 26, is declined. Pass interference, number 26 is accepted.
You got them both.
Down.
Yeah, what they're saying is the holding would be right here in the first 5 yards. If he holds before the ball's in the air. You see the hold is right there, they're saying. The ball hasn't been thrown yet. Now the pass interference is there after the ball's thrown. So if you do it before the ball's thrown, it's holding. If you do it while the ball is in the air, it's pass interference.
Carolina in a shift, and the Dallas defense is confused for a moment. And Collins is back to throw. The stop fade is complete. Throw it behind him on purpose.
And they threw another flag.
Another penalty back at midfield.
And it was right there where Tony Casillas was right next to Kerry Collins. But that's one of the things that we were just talking about. Dom Capers said he had to do is win some battles out there, throw at Kevin Smith, and they're doing it. This is against the Cowboys. It's going to be against Tony Casillas.
It's a big one.
Unnecessary roughness. That's what it is.
The pass was caught, and they'll tack this on to the end.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. Number 75 on the defense. First down.
Against Casillas.
Yeah, because Casillas was standing right there again by Kerry Collins after he threw that ball. Here's Casillas here. Again, you see, here's where the ball's going to be thrown out to the right. Kerry Collins throws it. The ball's gone. There's Casillas there, so it happened after that.
Anthony Johnson taken down by Darren Woodson inside the 10-yard line.
You know, we were talking to Dom Capers the other day. On this drive, he's doing the 2 things that he talked about. Is one, you know, throwing to the outside, winning some battles out there, throwing at Kevin Smith and hoping to either catch the ball or to get a pass interference. They've done both on this drive, and then be able to run the ball.
2nd and 7. They can make a first down without scoring. Collins has Anthony Johnson deep. He comes out of there in motion. Collins. Ball was bouncing around. Carrier made the catch, and he held on long enough.
You knew that one had to be a pass because there was no one in the backfield. Carrier's going to line up tight here, and he just comes right in here on a slant. You see there's no one in the backfield. There's Carrier right there coming on a slant. Collins hits him perfectly. Here's Carrier here. You see he's just going to come up, boom, take the step right in there. The minute that he gets behind the linebacker, in front of the linebacker, Darren Smith, then he hits him.
1st and goal. And here's Collins. Pass, a diving catch by Wesley Walls. Touchdown, Carolina.
Kerry Collins got so excited because Wesley Walls was so wide open, he darn near took too much mustard off it.
He could have done just about anything.
Where do the Cowboys buy this fake? Watch the fake to the left. Here comes a bootleg. There's no one out there. Wesley Walls is so wide open that Kerry Collins darn near didn't get it to him.
And Wesley Walls made a heck of a catch.
That's when you try and aim it instead of throw it.
Casey's extra point is good, and Carolina leads Dallas 7-3. In Charlotte, North Carolina, Carolina leading Dallas 7-3. They're in the first quarter, 5:28 left. Balls from Collins put Carolina ahead. Herschel Walker. Walker got about 4 steps, and that was it.
Let's watch that touchdown play again. Pat, here's Wesley Walls here, and you're going to see what he does. He comes in, and then he goes down. You see him go down to the ground. You see down to his knees. In fact, his head even goes the other way. Then all the Cowboys run by him. Now he gets up and just runs into the end zone. Fakes a block, goes down to the ground, lets them all go by him, then gets up, and that's why he was so wide open.
Ray Donaldson is back as the Cowboys line up on offense. Aikman gives to Emmitt Smith to the 20. Behind Donaldson and Newton and Larry Allen.
You have to be impressed with the hustle of this Carolina Panther team. You know, on defense, you know, you had a turnover. They came in there and they just fought and scrapped and kept the Cowboys out of the end zone. Then they get the ball back, and their offense should be grateful to the defense, and they take it down there and score.
Deion Sanders lines up wide right. No further word on Michael Irvin.
Deion Sanders is in Michael Irvin's position.
Kevin Williams is to the left. Aikman up the middle, incomplete. In the direction of Bjornsson. 4:37 left to play in the first quarter.
And Carlton Bailey was down there and had great coverage. There was no place for Aikman to throw. He had pretty good time, but he doesn't have any of his receivers there. You know, I mean, his go-to guy for years has been Jay Novacek. Of course, he hasn't been there all year. Michael Irvin has been his go-to guy. He's in the locker room now. And to be honest with you, other than his running game, he doesn't have a go-to receiver here.
Yes, Kevin Williams to the left and Deion Sanders to the right. And he's down. Aikman goes down. Les Miller led the rush. Kevin Green, who's been firing and rushing passers for a long time.
Les Miller is right here in the middle, and you just see him take on 3 Cowboys. He goes right by Ray Donaldson, Nate Newton, and Emmitt Smith on the way.
Just caved him in.
Yeah, that's the thing that Les Miller, that's his job. His job is to just cave in the middle and let Kevin Green and Lamar Lathan come from the outside.
John Jett back to punt. Winslow Oliver deep for Carolina. Slipped one time, and now he's got some room. He's got a wall. Look out. Taken down by Darren Woodson. And if he doesn't make that tackle, they're further ahead. Right now, let's send it down to the sideline and Ron Pitts.
Pat, you know, I just talked to Michael Irvin. He just came up the tunnel on a cart. He had his shirt off. I asked him if he'd be able to return. He didn't reply. He just looked at me. He looks like he's in a lot of pain. It took 3 guys to pick him up off the ground to take him inside the x-ray room to get an x-ray. I doubt if he'll be back.
All right, Ron, thank you very much. And that is a devastating blow to the Dallas offense.
Well, and the other thing that's been a devastating blow to the Cowboys is this Carolina Panther team, because they're beating them in all their battles right now.
Here's Collins back to throw. This is caught by Walls. What a throw by Collins. Woodson knocked him out of bounds.
You know, Collins is so big and so strong. I mean, he's like 6'5" and weighs 245 pounds. Here's Wesley Walls there just running an out, And I think that Walls has a heck of a lot of confidence in Collins, and Collins has a heck of a lot of confidence in Wesley Walls.
No question about that.
We talk about go-to guys and Troy Aikman not having one. Wesley Walls is Kerry Collins' go-to guy. 1st and 10 at the Dallas 20-yard line, 30-yard line. Andre Johnson to his left, inside the 30. You know, you were talking about how much you admire the way this Carolina defense and offense really have sort of taken charge. You have to admire this whole organization, from the owner, Jerry Richardson, down to that guy, Dom Capers. Well, you know what you have to admire about it is how quickly they've done it and how well they've done it, but how much pride they have in it. You know, when we came here Friday, it's everyone, every coach, the owner, general manager, all the players, everyone has a lot of pride in this place, this city, this state, and this football team.
Here's Collins back to throw it. Has time and throws deep over the head of Walls. Incomplete. Got a late rush from Tolbert.
I remember when Wesley Walls played for the San Francisco 49ers, and at that time, you know, they had Brent Jones, and you know, he always had to kind of take a back seat to Brent Jones. And
Couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah, and he played special teams, and in fact, he was a snapper on the punt team. Then he'd get hurt all the time. Then he went down to New Orleans, and he showed what he could do, and then he decided to come here and play for the Panthers, and what a decision it's been for both he and the Panthers.
3rd and 9. Collins, quick throw. Pass caught by Willie Green. Enough for a first.
You know, an interesting thing Kerry Collins was saying, that he was watching the game yesterday between the Green Bay Packers. He was watching that game between the Packers and the 49ers. And he said he watched Brett Favre, and Brett Favre got up and he was smiling at Gary Plummer.
Yep.
And he said that just reminded him, you know, that this game should be fun. He wants to play today the way Brett Favre played yesterday.
A lot of people would like to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, make fun of it. I mean, you'll make it fun. That it is a game and it should be fun. And now they're going to have a 4th and short. This is going to be a big decision for Dom Capers, because he is in field goal range here. Do you kick a field goal or do you go for it?
They're going to go. Collins is asking for the crowd to get involved here, or be quiet.
No, he's trying to get them to be quiet. Yeah, because he wants to hear the play that they're sending in. I imagine the play would be a quarterback sneak. They've gone for it 13 times this year on 4th down and made it 6.
Johnson is deep. Collins the sneak, and he'll have enough.
Again, I think when your quarterback is 6'5" and weighs 240 pounds, in fact, he was telling Dom Capers he would like to weigh 250. They make him stay at 240, but that's not a bad quarterback thing. He's going to take it and just kind of veer off to his right. You just take it and you look for a seam, and then you just put your head and shoulder down and drive those legs, and that's exactly what he did. That's not a bad quarterback sneak.
If it's possible, he's a lean 240.
I know it. I mean, he's a good-looking 240. I mean, he can be proud of it. He can parade that body around.
Yeah. Johnson around the corner, still on his feet, near another first down. This is Winslow Oliver. I beg your pardon.
Yeah, they bring in Winslow Oliver. He's the rookie, and in fact, Dom Capers said he reminds him a lot of Dave Meggett, and they bring him in as a change of pace guy, and they're just going to get out here and boom, get around the corner, get a lead, pitch him the ball to the outside. He just gets by Tony Casillas. After that, he makes a little move and then puts a little move on and a little burst and then ends it up. But he is a good change of pace.
Yes,
that's the way.
He is.
I think they like to run Anthony Johnson inside and then bring in Oliver to get those outside runs.
2 tight ends set up. Johnson is deep this time, and Johnson loses a couple.
They started out, they had some room in there in the middle, and then that's not there anymore because the Cowboy defense is kind of packed inside. That's why they were able to get outside.
And just to bring you up to date, our latest information on Michael Irvin is he has a possible cracked or broken clavicle. And whether he'll be able to return or not is very, very doubtful.
If he has a broken clavicle, he won't return. No.
He won't be back. They're not sure yet.
That was the area they were checking on the sideline, though.
Here's Collins. Dumps it out to Oliver. They get the first down.
Yeah, this offensive line of the Panthers is doing a heck of a job because no one's getting close to Kerry Collins. I mean, just watch this group right up here block this group here. And you see he has time, he has time, he has time, and then he can look and pump, and then he gets out here, and then he buys a little more time and finally gets it out here to Oliver. But this offensive line of the Panthers is really controlling the tempo of this game.
And the amazing thing about that is that they've only been together a very short time. They made all kind of changes earlier in the year. That's the offensive line in week 1. We were talking about the changes that had been made.
Yeah, you see the only guys that were the same as Garcia was the guard. Skrepenek was the right guard, and he's the only guy that is still at that position. Every other position has been changed.
Collins. Down he goes at about the 5.
Well, Kerry Collins didn't get much depth on his drop on that one. That was one of the shortest drops I've ever seen. He was trying to throw a slant in there, and I think he took a one-step drop. And I don't know that I've ever seen a one-step drop because all quarterback drops are always 3-step is the shortest, 5-step, or 7-step. That time, he just stayed right on the line of scrimmage.
10th play of this drive, you probably won't see another one-step drop either.
No, he knows he needs some separation.
Flag on the play. This is Winslow Oliver skirting to the outside.
Offense prior to the snap.
Garrido,
Still
the rookie
down.
right tackle, was the man who moved prior to the snap.
And that was a silly penalty, too. I mean, they've had a lot of these penalties. In fact, I think they lead the league in jumping off sides on offense because they have had so many. In fact, there it is, 36 false starts or offsides penalties, tied for the most in the NFL with the Raiders. And I think that's one of the downfalls of having so many different offensive linemen. But the ball was going to the left. Garrido was on the right side.
Oliver takes the handoff and slipped at about the 10. This is a different kind of grass in the middle of the field from on the outside, both sides of the field where the receivers operate. The middle is Bermuda grass. The outside is rye. You can see it right
this
there.
whole side is Bermuda, and this is a rye. This is the guy Barry Switzer says he didn't like where the X's are.
Slippery.
Yeah, he said that always gets slippery. But the Panthers look like they haven't had any problems with this field.
Third and goal.
Tyrone Poole did fall down once.
Yes. Third and goal at the 10. Here's Collins. The pass is caught. Touchdown, Wooly Green. Tight coverage, but a perfect pass from Collins to Green.
They said they had to win some battles on the outside. They said they were going to go against Kevin Smith right here and watch Willie Green against Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith looks into the backfield a little. He comes up, he gets the bump, and I'll tell you, he was right there on that coverage, and Kerry Collins threw a perfect pass. Whew. This guy is something.
Casey for the extra point. 14-3. Carolina over Dallas. Pat Summerall with John Madden. And the Carolina Panthers have looked very sharp. Casey's kickoff going to be handled by Kevin Williams. Williams is taken down at about the 26. Let's go back to that touchdown. Look at the protection. Excuse me, John.
Well, here's Norberto Garrido. Now, the first thing you have to do is get an outside here, pin this guy, get this guy here, and form a lane so that your quarterback can throw in a lane. The receiver has to get open, but if we can stop it right here, we can see here is a passing lane that Kerry Collins can step up and throw that ball to Green. You see, so I mean, the receiver has to get open, but the line has to block and create passing lanes for the quarterback.
Emmitt Smith gets the carry, and he gets away from Latham, gets around the corner, and gets knocked out of bounds at the 30. That's an offensive formation we have not seen for Dallas. They had, well, let's have a look at it again. Herschel Walker's in the backfield along with Smith and Daryl Johnston.
They have Herschel Walker here, and they have Daryl Johnston here, and Emmitt Smith here, so you can get a lead to this side, or a passer. He can be a pass receiver. He can be your lead blocker, but that's the old version of the old full house backfield.
Yeah. 14-3, you're down. You don't need many full house backfields. Pass is caught by Kelvin Martin.
Yeah, we were talking about the Cowboys and Troy Aikman not having a go-to receiver. You know, he doesn't have Jay Novacek. He doesn't have Michael Irvin. But if he does have any go-to guy, it's this guy here, Kelvin Martin. And I think that was Troy Aikman was instrumental in bringing Kelvin Martin back, because he knows where he's supposed to go, and Aikman always knows where he's going to be.
He's not fast, he's not big, but he knows how to get open. This is Bjornsson in motion. Pitch back to Emmitt Smith. Emmitt just crosses the 40 and picks up a couple at the most. Sam Mills.
Isn't that Sam Mills something? I mean, 37 years old. This guy has been told all his life that he's been too small. He's only 5'7", 5'8", weighs 230 pounds. You know, played in the USFL, played all those years with New Orleans Saints.
He's the oldest guy ever picked for the Pro Bowl, other than a kicker, for a starting spot in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, who would say that some guy from Montclair State, who's 37 years old, would be playing in a Pro Bowl, and if they keep going like this, could very well be in the NFC Championship game.
Isn't that the truth? Aikman's pass to Martin, who's open, gets into Carolina territory at the 47, stopped by Pat Terrell.
Yeah, if you look at Dallas's pass distribution, all their passes have been completed to wide receivers today. They haven't completed a pass to a tight end or a running back yet. Here's Kelvin Martin again. That's just a zone thing where you just go and you start up and you get a feeling and then you just stop.
Deion Sanders lines up split wide to the right this time. Daryl Johnston on the move. The handoff to Emmitt Smith. Emmitt gets across the 45, about the 44. Stopped by Carlton Bailey.
You know, one of the things with the running game of the Cowboys, they are not having success blocking the two inside linebackers of the Panthers. That would be Carlton Bailey. These two guys here, these are the two guys, if you're going to be able to run, you got to get them. Now, to get to them, you have to be able to get the nose tackle, Greg Cragen. But there always seems, by doubling the nose tackle, there's always a guy free. That time it was Carlton Bailey. But did they put a double team on Greg Cragen, didn't they?
He didn't see much daylight. Emmitt Smith again, and Emmitt to the 41-yard line.
But that's part of the success of these linebackers like Sam Mills, is that Greg Cragen just gets up there, and as Sam Mills says, Greg Cragen will just occupy guys.
Well, nobody gets a clear shot at him.
No, because he'll take on two. He lines up in that gap, and like he does, he takes on more double teams probably than any defensive lineman in the league.
And that's a tough way to make a living.
That's the bad news for Greg Cragen, but it's the good news for this guy right here, Sam Mills, because they can't get to him.
Three wide receivers. Deion Sanders split wide right. Aikman back to throw it. Pass is caught by Kevin Williams this time. Aikman right on the money.
Well, is he on the money? He's been on the money this whole drive. I think that he feels it. I think he's feeling some urgency now and knowing that they're going to have to throw the ball. Here's Kevin Williams out here. Tyrone Poole has pretty good coverage. Look, he stays a little underneath. Just as he breaks, he falls down, and Aikman puts that ball in there perfectly. But here's just a four-man rush. Great protection here.
First down, Dallas at the 27-yard line of Carolina. Here's Aikman to throw it again. Here comes the blitz. Pass is caught by Daryl Johnston at about the 25.
And we even got the moose calls down here in Carolina, huh? That was the first reception by anyone other than a wide receiver so far for the Cowboys. But this Troy Aikman is really something with his
You know, I've never figured out the significance of pass distribution. If it's working, keep throwing it.
Yeah, you just keep doing it. But Troy Aikman is so accurate today.
Emmitt Smith banging down inside the 15 to about the 12-yard line. The safety man, Pat Terrell, made the tackle.
Emmitt Smith is just going to the sideline and just saying, keep running it to me. Here it is, the old I formation where he's the best, just running in here between Larry Allen and Eric Williams. Just getting there with the lead, just running to that side, get the double team, get the good lead, the turnout, and those guys create great big old holes.
You talk about the good lead. Darrell Johnson got the good lead.
That was a good lead.
Here's that oddball formation again. Walker comes out this time in motion. Aikman back to throw. The blitz is on, but the pass is caught by Bjornsson, the tight end.
I think that's what they're trying to do with it. I think they're trying to get the defense bunched and then put Herschel Walker in motion away and then get single coverage on the side here. See, Herschel Walker has gone that way, and then he's going to go to Bjornsson here because that made the defense move to their left, and then Bjornsson had a wide open spot on that right. But
Second and 3.
Sure focused and accurate on this drive.
Two tight ends this time. Second and 3. Emmitt Smith gets the carry, and Emmitt's down to about the 2. Lamar Latham made the stop.
Well, I think they found out something. If you have a big, strong offensive line, and you have on that right side, you have Larry Allen, you have Eric Williams, and you have Moose Johnston leading, you might as well just get in and run right behind it.
Well, now they're in that position you talked about earlier, John. They got first and goal at the 3. Now get in.
And you'll see the problem here. As you look that everyone bunches up against them. See all this bunch up in here. This is tough to run against because there's going to be 2 free men.
Smith close to the goal line.
And you see Andre Royal in there, number 58. In fact, they take out a corner and put Royal in, and he's a linebacker.
That's George Hegeman, who just checked in. You saw him report he'll line up as one of the tight ends.
Well, what they were doing is they were running too much to Ty J. Armstrong. So they want to put in Hegeman. Here's Ty J. Armstrong going to this side. They want to put in another guy and run to this side away from Ty J. Armstrong.
Ty J. is to the left. They go straight ahead to Emmitt Smith, and he's not going to get in. He's hit by Latham right at the line of scrimmage.
And like you say, they're still having the same problems that they have down in this area, and that's running because everyone's ganging up on them, and they're having more men than they have blockers. You see, they try and get back there in the lead, and here comes Lamar Latham. Because Lamar Latham is just sitting back there on that short yardage goal line defense. He's just sitting right here waiting for that cutback. He's not going to over-pursue it. That was very, very close to getting a face mask down there.
He was. Back at the 2-yard line. Third down now.
This has to be a pass.
Aikman throws. Darrell Johnston, who came down with the ball. What a catch. Touchdown, Dallas.
I think they've finally figured out that when you get down there, you can't bunch it up and you can't run it in there, that this is the best way to do it.
Barry Switzer was signaling, let's go for 2.
Watch Troy Aikman. I mean, he's just running there, and he throws a little behind. Most of the time, Troy Aikman is so accurate. That time, he threw it behind Moose Johnston, and for a Moose, that was a heck of a catch.
For anybody, that was it.
Yeah, but a guy nicknamed Moose, you don't expect to be acrobatic. I mean, those two things, Moose and acrobatics, don't go together.
14-9. The Cowboys will go for 2. And now they'll take a timeout. Erickson Stadium, the Sunset in Carolina. 14-9. The Cowboys are just scored the touchdown from Aikman to Darrell Johnston, and they're going to go for 2.
Well, by going for 2, if they make the 2, then they're within a field goal of tying. If they go for 1, they would need a touchdown.
Johnston on the move. Aikman back to throw it. Incomplete. He threw it in the direction of Bjornsson. It was knocked away. 14-9 the score at Ericsson Stadium. Cowboys just scored, missed in their effort for 2, and now they kick off. Munoz kick. It goes to Michael Bates. And Bates headed around the corner, steps out of bounds. The Carolina Panthers 14, Dallas 9. Carolina ball at their own 34. That's Anthony Johnson for about 2.
And, we're talking about that right side of that Cowboy offensive line winning that last battle. I think the left side of this Panther offensive line is winning that battle. Matt Campbell over there and Matt Elliott, because that's where they seem to have their success. And Frank Garcia, the center, going in behind this group, these 3 guys right here, Campbell, Elliott, and Garcia.
Childress and Hervin McCormick are now the Dallas defensive tackles as they go with an extra defensive backs. 3 wide receivers for Carolina. Collins back to throw. Collins scrambled. Incomplete. Intended for Willie Green. Here's Troy Aikman wrapping his right leg.
That's not a good picture there.
No. Emmitt Smith in the background.
Emmitt Smith stretching, putting ice on Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin in the locker room.
Collins going deep for Walls. Incomplete. Snap goes over the head. The ball rolling into the end zone over the head of Stark, and Stark rolls out of the end zone with it. Safety for Dallas, so they got their 2 points.
Right, he was going to take the 2 points. Stark had a decision to make there. Do you let it go, or do you try and kick it? Now what he could have done there is he could have tried to kick that ball, but he decided, and I think smartly, to just get on the ball. Now it'll be a safety.
Mark Rodenhauser is the snapper. That went way over his head.
Well, yeah, he didn't even have a chance to jump on it. Now he could have tried to pick it up and kick it, but that wouldn't have worked. And I think he saved some disaster there by taking the 2 points. Of course, now the safety, now the Carolina Panthers will get a free kick from the 20-yard line. So you usually have your punter punt the ball with your kickoff coverage team. And then, of course, the Cowboys will have their kickoff return team, usually with their punt returner. I wouldn't be surprised to see Deion Sanders back there now returning this free kick.
14-11. There's Sanders.
Yeah, I think if you're going to play him and you're going to use him as a returner, this is a heck of a good spot to do it.
Kevin Williams back there with Deion.
What you do is you have your kickoff return. So you have the 5 men up 10 yards away from the 20-yard line. Then you got the wedge. They're trying to get their wedge up about the 40-yard line. And then you have your 2 deep guys. See, here's your front, your 5 guys. Then you go back and you get your wedge. They'll be right here. Here's your 4-man wedge. And then back here, your 2 deep.
Stark's kick is high, and Deion Sanders will handle it at the 20. Away from 2, and this is Deion Sanders. Ron Stark made the tackle, the punter. And had he not, Deion could have been off to the races.
This is the thing now what Deion Sanders would want to do is get up into the wedge. See how he starts into the wedge, but then he sees all the Panthers in there too, so he decides, I don't want to go in there where all those guys are. I'll get to the outside where the only white jersey he saw was the punter.
And he lowered a shoulder. Aikman is back at quarterback, and Emmitt Smith back at tailback. Aikman had a tightness in his calf, we're told. Smith just had some cramps, so they're both back. And here's Aikman to throw it. Look right, through left, pass complete. Kevin Williams.
I think there was a point in this game that Troy Aikman realized that, with Michael Irvin out and all those things, if they're going to win, he's going to have to just start throwing the ball, and he's going to have to start throwing it like this to Kevin Williams. Even though there is good and tight coverage, he's going to have to get Kelvin Martin in there and throw it to him. He's going to have to take this game in his hands and win it. and he's capable of doing that.
He certainly is. 1st and 10. Aikman back to throw. Going deep for Kelvin Martin. Just missed him. Kelvin Martin has a lot of heart. He knows how to get open, but he doesn't have a lot of speed.
Yeah, you see, here's Kelvin Martin right here, and he's going to be running on Eric Davis here. Eric Davis looks a little lackadaisical because he did let Kelvin Martin get behind him. And that ball just been a little shorter, and Troy Aikman knows it. That would have been a touchdown. I think that Kelvin Martin caught Eric Davis napping because he didn't believe they'll never throw a deep one to Kelvin Martin.
Maybe he knows all those things we were talking about.
Can't run fast.
Darrell Johnston goes in motion and handoff to Emmitt Smith, who's hit immediately by Les Miller. And Les made everything collapse again.
Yeah, well, that's what he does, and they tried to run a draw back into him. They get the motion, and they only have one man in the backfield.
Back at Erickson Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina, the home of the Carolina Panthers. 3rd and 9 for Dallas. They're 3 out of 5 on 3rd down. Aikman looking over the defense. 3 wide receivers.
This is where he likes to go to Kelvin Martin in this situation.
Protection's good. The pass is picked off. 2 and in with the only man with a shot. Aikman. Chad Cota made the interception.
Chad Cota's the guy that made a big interception last week. In the last game they played against Pittsburgh
2 weeks ago.
Right, he was going. Here's Kelvin Martin here. He was trying to throw to Kelvin Martin. He was going to be his go-to guy. You see him stop in there, and he just get Cota. Cota was just playing his zone, just waiting, watching Troy Aikman. Martin tried to hook behind him, and Cota just stepped in front and got that ball.
Larry Allen over to make the saving tackle with an assist from Aikman.
That Cota's been a big deal in the defense. In fact, in the last 4 games, he's had 4 interceptions, and he's not even a starting defensive back.
They're at the Dallas 27. With a chance to add some points. Collins screen pass to Johnson, and Johnson is hit as he crosses the 20. Clock still running. George Teague made the tackle.
The Panthers have 1 timeout, but they don't want to use it now. You want to save your timeout so that you can run the ball if you get close to the goal line.
They're well within field goal range now. 2nd and 1. Collins gets to Johnson. Ball's loose, but it's not a fumble. He was down. Shante Carver played it well.
I think what Carolina was trying to do there, Pat, is they had 2nd and short. I think they were trying to get a 1st down, then probably go for the end zone. They did get the first down.
They got the first down.
So now they have downs, but they better do something with this clock. Either get up and run a play or take a timeout. But they wasted way too much time getting this play in there. Because they have the downs, now they don't have the time.
Collins to Willie Green, and Green is inside the 10 at about the 7.
Yeah, now they're going to have to take their last timeout. And see what happens when you take your last timeout. You don't have any timeouts left. Now you have to pass the ball. They don't have to defend the run anymore.
At the 8-yard lines, 2nd and 2. Oliver is the deep back. Collins gives to Oliver. And they did have to defend against the run.
Yeah, but they don't have any more timeouts. You see now, he's going to have to get up and just spike the ball. See, and that's going to take up 3rd down. Well, they got the 1st down.
They got the 1st down. The crew on the sideline is confused about what to do.
See, he's not letting them snap the ball. See right there, the umpire's on the ball.
And the clock's still running.
The officials have to stop the clock if they're doing this. They can't do this. Johnny Greer is going to have to put time back on the clock.
Which he will do, I'm sure.
Please reset the game clock to 17 seconds.
See, because the umpire was standing on the ball. Remember, in these playoff games, these aren't crews that work together. These are all-star crews.
Well, they hadn't moved the chains. They made the first down. The chain gang on the far side of the field hadn't moved the chains. And now Collins just says, I'm just going to spike it.
He should have been up there and been ready to spike it.
Yep. So 13 seconds now remain.
And what they have to do is they have to take a shot in the end zone. I mean, they have a time, to throw a slant pass. The ball can't be short. It has to be in the end zone. Collins has to know he can't take a sack. He has to throw the ball in the end zone, but he doesn't have to force it. I mean, he has to remember that 3 points isn't as good as 7, but it's better than none.
He doesn't have to force it. That's the key to the whole thing.
Yeah, but a lot of times quarterbacks will think because they have to pass it, they have to force it.
Here's Collins back. Away from one, he's still running. He fires. The pass is incomplete. Intended for Carrier, bounced off him. He was open. He had a shot. Here comes the field goal team with 6 seconds left on the clock before the half. He was open.
And that's the thing. And Gary Collins, he bought time on this one. Because you start here, you see, it looks like he's going to get a sack there because he can't take a sack. Then he gets out of trouble. And in getting out of trouble, he buys some time to throw that ball.
And he had the man open. Tony Casillas is down, injured on the play for the Cowboys.
And that's the reaction of Gary Collins. He knew that he had that. I think part of it was just kind of throwing a little behind him. The other part of it, I think you're going to see this ball's deflected a little right here. See, the ball is deflected there, and that kind of changes the position of it and makes it behind Carrier. Now, if you look at the coverage that they had out here on Willie Green, I mean, Kevin Smith is on him. Willie Green has nothing at all, unless it's pass interference.
That's what he's hoping for.
That's what he's trying to get on Kevin Smith.
That's Tony Casillas, who is still down.
Yeah, watch Tony Casillas here. We see this injury to linemen more where they run into their own guy. Watch him. He starts on a spinner, and he's going to come, and right there he runs into Tony Tolbert, who's coming from the other side. And that's what, and that was what Collins got away from. Casillas and Tolbert ran into each other.
And Casillas just went down.
Yeah, and then Gary Collins went out. Tried to hit Mark Carrier. The ball was deflected and thrown behind him. Had he gotten that in front of him, that would have been a touchdown.
Casey in to try for the field goal. The holder is Ron Stark, the punter.
And of course, this all became possible with Chad Coda's interception. And after the interception, 49-yard return.
Don't forget the last snap from Mark Rodenhauser.
That was on a punto.
Yeah.
That thing went at 12 o'clock. He snapped it at 12 o'clock.
24-yard field goal attempt by Casey is good. And the Panthers add 3, and it's 17-11. Carolina over Dallas. Michael Irvin was hurt on his first catch of the day, and the last word we had was they suspected that he had an injured clavicle. If it's a fracture, he won't be back.
Yeah, and you would suspect that if it weren't, if it was something, was just a bruise or something,
he would have been back.
That he'd be back and out on the field by now. It looks like the Cowboys are going to have to do it, and they're going to have to do it without Michael Irvin. But Troy Aikman showed on that one drive that with Kevin Williams and Kelvin Martin and just his accuracy and pass protection, that he is capable of getting it done. I mean, don't ever count this guy out. This guy's played like in 12 playoff games, and he's 11-1. This was Michael Irvin's injury. You see Lamar Lathan hustles to get him, gets him from behind, and in tackling, drives his shoulder right into the ground.
Kevin Williams. That'll do it for the first half.
Yeah, one of the things the Cowboys have to think of as they go in here at halftime is Carolina all season has only allowed 13 points in this stadium in the second half.
Just about ready to start the second half here at Erickson Stadium. 17-11 Carolina over Dallas. The first half statistics, John.
Well, you can see that, I mean, if the Cowboys are really going to get in it, they have to do more of this. I think the passing has been the same for both. And you see that the start here, this is an important thing for Carolina, that their starting position has been on their own 39-yard line. And that's why they've been able to move the ball so well. I think it was interesting that the Cowboys went for 2 points, didn't get the 2 points, but then they did get it back in a safety. And I think that without Michael Irvin isn't going to be back here in the second half. I think that it's going to be on the shoulders of the Cowboy running game and on Troy Aikman.
That would be Emmitt Smith, of course, principally. With Darrell Johnston, the lead blocker. That's Herschel Walker back deep for the Cowboys, as they're going to receive the second half kickoff, trailing 17-11. Kevin Williams is back there with Herschel. But Herschel will block for Kevin Williams at the 5. He tripped up just shy of the 20. Ron Pitts talked to both the coaches at the half. Let's go down to Ron.
Pat, I talked to Barry Switzer. Obviously, he was quite dejected. He said, hey, because of the injury to Michael Irvin, we have nobody out there who's practiced in the same wide receiver position. Everybody's switching around. That's a huge problem. We're going to have to put the game back on the ground, like you said, John, back in the hands of Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith. And then Dom Capers said, hey, we're the best second-half football team in the NFL. We're not going to change a thing.
All right, Ron, thank you. Dom Capers' team has only given up 13 points in the second half in this stadium all year long. Here's Aikman to throw. Kelvin Martin.
Yeah, this is what we were just talking about. We were just talking about this, Pat, about the second half points. And you look at this, 13. That's the fewest in the NFL. And I'll tell you another one. There's only 3 in the fourth quarter.
Face 79 offense.
This is called against Eric Williams.
Yeah, that's the old Eric Williams rule, too. That was put in for Eric Williams. Remember that here's Eric Williams right here. I'm sure he's going to be going against Kevin Green there. And where you take that thing and you punch that hand right up in the face. You see that right hand go to his face?
Yep.
That's what they called when that right hand went right up to his face, man. Eric Williams tried to get it off, but Johnny Greer, the referee, was watching that one all the way.
1st and 20. Back at the 9. Aikman to throw it. Kevin Williams comes down with it somehow.
Yeah, that's a heck of a pass. I mean,
he had it, lost it, and got it back.
And Barry Switzer was saying that he doesn't have anyone to put in there. But watch Kevin Williams. This is going to be against that cover 2. You see, Eric Davis has him short. The safety is going to come over the top. You'll see the safety come into the picture. Pat Terrell right there. And Troy Aikman throws it right between Eric Davis, the corner, and Pat Terrell, the safety, right into Kevin Smith's hand.
A gain of 23 and a first down, Cowboys. Aikman gives to Emmitt Smith, and Emmitt Smith gets to the 35. Tripped up by Sam Mills.
Yeah, that's what Barry Switzer was talking about at halftime. Is Michael Irvin is the flanker, and then the X has always been Kevin Williams. It's been Deion Sanders, and then Kelvin Martin has been the slot and 3 wide receivers. So the position, that flanker position, is a position like down here. The flanker is this position, the same size as the tight end. No one else practiced that.
Emmitt Smith dropped the pitch back from Aikman. It was low, and Emmitt couldn't hang on. He was lucky to get back on the ball.
You know, that calf is bothering Troy Aikman. If you watch him, just watch him move out here. He's not moving right. You see, he's trying to reverse pivot, and he doesn't get that ball out there. It's behind Emmitt Smith. And then after that, even going to that ball, you could see that he was moving a little gingerly. And even after that, he was still moving gingerly.
3rd and 11. Deion Sanders wide left. Kevin Williams wide right. Kelvin Martin in the slot. Here's Aikman. Pump fake for Deion Sanders. No flag. No flag.
Tyrone Poole was running step for step with Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders, one of the fastest guys in the league. So is Tyrone Poole, just a second-year guy. #1 draft choice a year ago. But watch him. He knows what this is. At a point, he's going to know it's just a race. And it's right there. He knows right now he better turn it on. Tyrone Poole does turn it on, and he's watching Deion Sanders' eyes. When Deion Sanders looks up, Tyrone Poole looks up. And whoop, there was a ball.
John Jett back to punt. Flag on the play. Jett gets off a dandy. But the flag came out before the ball snapped.
Now the Cowboys move. That's going to be against the Cowboys. Anytime the whistle blows before the ball snapped, it'll be against the offense. And when there's movement.
Offense.
Herschel
Prior to the
Walker
snap. Still 4th down.
was the man who moved.
And what that does is that just buys 5 more yards of field position for the Carolina Panthers. And you know, in talking to Dom Capers and the Panthers staff and players, that field position means so much. Field position and starting point, and again, they're going to get a good starting point in field position here.
Jett back to punt. His last one was a dandy. So is this one. Winslow Oliver retreats, fumble. So much for that starting field position. The fumble, and the Cowboys have it. So much for that field position. Darryl Johnston made the recovery.
Yeah, John Jett made a heck of a punt, though. I mean, Winslow Oliver didn't expect that. I mean, he was lined up in the 30, and John Jett punt that ball 10 yards over his head.
59-yard punt.
And then you see he has the ball in his wrong arm. Anytime you're going up the sideline, you got to get the ball in your outside arm. He had it on his inside arm. He didn't switch it, and the helmet just hit the ball and knocked it right out of there.
Darren Smith knocked it loose.
Yeah, you see him right there. You see when the ball was in his right arm, then Darren Smith came in and put his helmet right on the ball.
And Darryl Johnston made the recovery. 1st and 10, Dallas. The offensive unit back on the field. Aikman to throw it. Just gets rid of it. Does. Kevin Williams to the 5. Aikman was hit as he let it go.
Troy Aikman says before the game that he knew that he's going to have to take a lot of hits today. Because of these blitzes, there will be free guys. And he knows that he's going to have to stand in there and throw the ball. He didn't really have to take a hit on that one. That was his offensive line. They just didn't get the line block.
The player who was back there close, this is Lamar Lathan, stayed down. That would be a big loss. He's a heck of a player. Back at Erickson Stadium, that's Lamar Lathan. He was injured on that last pass rush. 1st and goal at the 5. Aikman back to him at Smith. Smith gets to about the 2.5. Greg Cragen met him there.
Yeah, one of the things that I think the Cowboys ought to consider now to get to score is to pass the ball. And I know that this is one thing that they've had success over the years, getting down inside the red zone, getting down inside the 5-yard line. They've had success running the ball, but it's getting tougher and tougher for them to run the ball. And I think that Ernie Zampese ought to think maybe sometimes throwing on 2nd down, not waiting until 3rd down.
Emmett Smith is the deep back. He gets the carry. And Emmett won't get in.
You see, and they just gang up on that. It's the same thing, and they outman them down there now because they know they're going to run the ball. And if you just look at the defenses, and you just looked at the stacked defense, that everyone is in here playing run, and there's always going to be at least 2 free guys. Now, you watch, see, here's a free guy, here's a free guy. Both of them are free. There's no cutback, there's no hole, and there's no bounce out. That's perfect defense.
Sam Mills filled it up inside. He got help from the outside. 3rd and goal, the ball at the 3. Emmett Smith goes in motion. There are no running backs. Aikman looking for some place to go. Bateman threw it away.
See, and that's the thing. Then they can't run on second. Then they get in third, and then the Panthers play pass, and then they just play right into their hand. Well, you think if they would have thrown on first or second down, they may have a shot at it. But this has been the thing that has bothered the Cowboys all year, and it's been bothering. It's the same problem they have today. But you can't forget that that's pretty good Panther defense, too.
Chris Boniol has made 32 consecutive field goals, including postseason, including one today. He'll try from 21 yards. His first one was 22. Boniol is good again at 17-14. Pat Summerall, John Madden, NFC divisional playoff match between Dallas and Carolina. Carolina leading 17-14. 10-7 left in the third quarter.
You see that guy that was sitting next to Emmitt Smith there on the bench, Charles Haley? There's a guy who is really missed by this team, because he's a big part of the heart and soul of the Dallas Cowboys.
Bates at the 1-yard line this time. Cut down at about the 27. Billy Davis made the stop.
You know, we knew the one thing that the Panthers said they were going to throw to their wide receivers, but you knew they were going to stay away from Deion Sanders. They've only thrown at Deion Sanders one time. Then you knew they were going to work on Kevin Smith. They've thrown out there 6 times, completed 2, but they've also gotten 22 yards of penalty. So to the outside receiver, that has been the place that they wanted to go and have gone.
Collins. That's Anthony Johnson to the 40 and a first down.
Hey, the coaching staff of the Panthers love this guy, Anthony Johnson. Yeah, he said he's probably one of the few or only starting running back that gained over 1,000 yards, that plays on all the special teams.
Yeah.
He says during practice, when they're practicing defense, he'll play the offensive team, the scout team. He said the guy just loves to play football, wants to be in there all the time, and will do anything.
Spent time with the Jets, cut loose by the Bears, and now he's found a home. Now he's got more than a home. He's found some room. He saw that blitz coming and changed direction.
Yeah, and he stopped. He kind of saw the blitz coming, and the blitz was coming to his left, and he just said, here's where the blitz is going to come from. He stops here. He sees the blitz here. He stopped and then comes right back here. This is where he ends up. This is where he finds the soft spot. You see the blitz there in his left? Now watch him stop right there and say, oh, I don't want to go that place. This is the place I want to go. Watch him. He'll just stop right there. Darren Woodson is all zeroed in on him. And Anthony Johnson makes Darren Woodson miss.
Second and short. Johnson again. Breaks it again. To the Dallas 39. Finally caught and brought down by Broderick Thomas.
Yeah, this is what they call gashing him now. Running there, they're going to run right in here behind the left side here. You're going to get a good block by the fullback. You see, here's the fullback, Griffith right here. He gets the lead. The lead right there, that's the old Dallas play. Tackle turns out, guard turns in, lead just goes in and gets the backer. See, here's Howard Griffith. He gets the lead block. Andrew Johnson gets right in behind him.
Flag on the play. Here's Collins chased by Broderick Thomas. Put a penalty marker down.
I think Kerry Collins made what you call a business decision, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Saw Broderick Thomas there. Probably knew the penalty was against them anyway, or knew there was a penalty. And decided that he wasn't going to take on Broderick Thomas.
Remember Tony Casillas, who was hurt in the first half. Now Hervin McCormick
Illegal shift.
is playing the right defensive tackle.
2 men moving prior to the snap and failing to reset. The penalty is declined. Second down.
You see what happens? You can only have one man move. You see, you got a move here and a move here, and they didn't get set. You can have 2 men shift. You can have more than 2 shift, but you can only have 1 man in motion. And after a shift, you have to set for a second.
Second and 12. That's Wesley Walls in motion. Collins gives straight ahead to Johnson, who gets to the 35-yard line of Dallas and across it.
Now they're just pounding on that right side.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a frustrating thing when a team can come in after you go in there and then they just take the ball and they just keep pounding at you. Do it with a run.
Third down, passing down, third about 6. Clock running at 7:20, 7:15 by the time they get back to the line of scrimmage.
You know, Anthony Johnson has had 5 100-yard games this year.
Here's Collins back to throw it. Maybe, maybe not. Collins chased. Got the first down. Hit hard. He ducked his head. Big guy.
Someone really came over and unloaded on him.
I heard it.
And Kerry Collins unloaded too. You know, you don't think a quarterback's doing that, but Kerry Collins finished off that run. Usually quarterbacks run and they slide or they go out of bounds, but they don't finish off runs. Kerry Collins got that first down and finished off that run. Watch him here. He sees nothing here now. Now he knows where he has to go. At that point here, he knows that he's going to run, and he saw that marker there for the first down.
Anthony Johnson, the ball carrier, wrapped up right at the line of scrimmage. An anxious Troy Aikman on the sideline wants the ball back.
Yeah, that's the thing that does frustrate you is when when the other team keeps the ball and you're the offense of the other team that's keeping the ball.
This is the 8th drive of this 8th play of this drive coming up. Second down, 7. Johnson gets the carry, gets a yard.
Now if the Carolina Panthers can get a first down here, now it's third down. This is a passing down, but if they can get a first down here, then a play pass on first down, where you fake the run and go to a pass, I think would be very effective if they get a first down here. They're in field goal range right now.
Oh, for Casey, sure.
I mean, I was watching that John Casey kick on Friday. He has one of the most explosive legs I've ever seen.
Wow, he does. Not only distance, but high. Here's Collins. Screen pass coming in. They had that one set. Anthony Johnson had 2 blockers in front of him.
That's the same thing Kerry Collins did. Remember on the touchdown pass to Wesley Walls?
Yep.
He just took so much off it. The thing was so open that he threw a bad pass. He did the same thing on this screen pass. Watchman's going to be out there to the left. And if he completes this pass, it's going to be a first down. But watch, he takes so much off of it that he just throws it a little low, although Anthony Johnson should have caught that pass.
That could have been more than a first down. There were 2 blockers clean out in front of it. From 40 yards, Casey. Got it. Carolina 2 turnovers, Dallas 1. Collins 2 touchdown passes. Michael Irvin out with an injured shoulder, maybe a fracture. The winner to face Green Bay at Lambeau next week. High kickoff comes to Herschel Walker at the 4. To the 21. NFC divisional playoff. The Carolina Panthers 20. The Dallas Cowboys 14. 4:48 left to play in the third quarter. Dallas starting at their own 22. Aikman gives to Emmitt Smith, and Emmitt Smith. 20-14 Carolina. 2nd and 7 at their own 25 for Dallas, the defending world champions. Aikman back to throw. Out to Emmitt Smith. They converge in a hurry, and there's no gain.
And that's not a very good play. I mean, Emmitt Smith has to take the ball. I mean, now you're going for a championship, and I know about running out of bounds and all those things. And you see here, there's the answer that Michael Irvin isn't going to be back. We didn't expect him to be back. I guess the X-ray didn't show that it was broken, but there was enough pain and doubt that they think it probably is, and they need more X-rays. But when they said that, when he wasn't back out here, you know that he wasn't going to come back and play again.
Third down and 9, and a timeout, Carolina.
Well, this crowd's going crazy here, Pat. They know what this game means, and they know what their defense is, and they know what it's all about when you get in 3rd and long. This is when you have to be noisy.
3rd and 9, and they are noisy. Aikman's back to throw. The blitz coming. He gets rid of it, throws it away, and down he goes. Rushed by Lamar Lathan.
You know, any fans that have a good defense always know that 3rd and long, you got to stand up. And they did. They stand up the whole time. Here's Lamar Lathan. He started to work against Tuanay, but he starts on the stunt. Nate Newton comes up, doesn't get him. Donaldson slides out. And Lamar Lathan has enough speed and explosiveness to go around 3 guys and still get up the field.
That's what they hope for. That confusion about who's supposed to block whom. Jet back to punt it. Another good kick by Jet. Winslow Oliver signaled fair catch this time, and that time he's mad at himself because he didn't have to.
He didn't need a fair catch then.
So here's the road to the Super Bowl. That's what it looks like at the moment. New England against Jacksonville, and Green Bay waits for the winner of this one at Lambeau.
And we're going to be up there at Lambeau next week. And you know, the interesting thing about Lambeau is they're going to put in a new field this week.
Right.
And they're going to start tomorrow. You know, they were talking at the halftime about how sloppy the field was. They're going to start tomorrow and put a brand new field in at Lambeau Field.
Anthony Johnson gets the carry and gets very little. But the clock is winding down in the 3rd quarter. Dallas defense has been out there a long time. Dallas owner Jerry Jones. And the owner, proud owner of this Carolina franchise, Jerry Richardson. I played against him.
Yeah, and I played with him. I played with him in an all-star game before you played against him. I played an all-star game in Arizona. He's a heck of a guy.
Collins, the pass outside to Howard Griffith. And Swans had it covered in a hurry.
You know, but if you look at this Carolina team and the way they're made up, everyone says, you know, that they got a lot of advantages and draft choices and so on. And Jerry Richardson said
he doesn't think so.
He said we had to pay $140 million to get in. He said we only get 1/4 of the television money. He says we have a $14 million mortgage. And you look at how many free agents that these guys picked up. It's amazing. I mean, these are guys that anyone could have had.
He had those numbers ready, didn't he? Here's Collins. Pass is caught by Wesley Wall. And that should be enough for a first down. Bill Bates on the coverage.
Now Wesley Walls is Kerry Collins' favorite receiver. That's only the 3rd time. Here's Wesley Walls. Watch that stance he gets in on passing that. He doesn't get in a 3-point stance like a tight end. He gets in a 2-point stance, runs a heck of a pattern, but Kerry Collins really got that ball in there. Wesley Walls is not only Kerry Collins' best receiver, he's also his best friend. I think Wesley Walls was smart. He said they roomed right next to each other in training camp, and that was one of the first things that he did when he got here.
Reverse coming. Ishmael on the reverse. Fred Strickland made the stop. Look how this team was built. This is just what you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, they got 19 free agents. I mean, that's just, free agents that anyone could have gotten. They got 4 players off waivers that they just picked off waivers. And then, of course, 13 unrestricted free agents. That's the kind that they had to recruit and, and compete for. I mean, guys like Wesley Walls and those kind of players. Then that in the draft, and they had a plan. They followed their plan, and their plan works. And I think it's made all the other owners in the National Football League less patient.
2nd and 3 at midfield. Johnson first down to the 40 in Dallas territory. Stopped by Tony Tolbert finally. But they'll move the sticks and we'll change into the field just very shortly.
You know, one thing about Anthony Johnson, he doesn't spend a lot of time getting to the line of scrimmage.
No, he doesn't.
I mean, when that ball is snapped, he explodes out of his stance. Just watch him here explode and hit that hole. I mean, he doesn't spend a lot of time between his stance and that line of scrimmage. And his right guard pulls Greg Skrepenak, and he was right in there behind him. And Kevin Green, that's the way to get this crowd going. That's how you pump them up.
1st and 10 for Carolina at the Dallas 40. They lead by 6. A lot of football left. But Carolina has the ball. Johnson looking for a place to cut back to. Got 4 yards. Shante Carver made the stop.
You know, we talk about Anthony Johnson and and his run, but this line has really done a heck of a job. I mean, it's this group. Just watch the push that they get as the ball is snapped. Watch the takeoff. Boom! You get the double team. You get Casillas going back. You get Hennings going back, and you just put them all in the middle. There is going to be a push. There's always going to be, when you block like that, you're always going to gain at least 3 or 4 yards.
On 2nd down, not much there. Maybe a yard this time. Stopped by Strickland.
That's where I think that play pass would go good too.
Now,
yeah, they're on the next 1st down they get. On 3rd down, they're going to have to go a pass now because they've been running every 1st and 2nd down, and this group here has really done a job.
They really have.
Campbell at the left tackle. He was a tight end a year ago. Matt Elliott, remember him? He was the last guy drafted by the Washington Redskins. The rookie Garrido over there at the right tackle.
He was a guard. They moved him out. Dallas is showing him blitz. He gets rid of it in a hurry, and the ball is loose. And a flag on the play. And Kevin Smith is saying, "What did I do?" The flag came late.
Roger Harper was saying, "What did Kevin Smith do? What did he do?"
Pass interference. 26. Defense. 1st down.
Well, that's what they're doing. They're saying that Kevin Smith holds every play they want to throw at him, and they're going to get some completions, but they think they're also going to get their share of these calls. You see, you can hit them within the first 5 yards, but you can't hold them, and you can't touch them when the ball's in the air.
How's Muhammad, the receiver, who started off in great fashion this year, then got hurt.
But you know, if Kevin Smith can't do what he did, if you can't get up there and jam him and do that, you can't play corner.
No, you can't. Johnson gets a couple straight ahead. That did not look like a bad play that Kevin Smith made.
No, that's, I mean, I think you have to let it. I mean, I think they go for a point to not calling things, to picking on a guy, and I think they're at that point where they're picking on Kevin Smith a little. Anything that's close, they're calling interference because, like I said, if a corner can't do that, get up and jam, then he can't play. Kevin Smith is just going out of the game. I don't know if he was taken out or why he's out of there, but he just went off.
Here's Anthony Johnson taken down by Jim Swantz. Kevin Smith's coming back.
Yeah, he went off for one play.
Maybe just to cool off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they may have just wanted to get him off there and, and say something to him and just let him cool down and forget it. But he doesn't go in the huddle. You watch out here. See, Kevin Smith is out here. Here's the team huddle, and he and Deion Sanders both stay out at their corner spots and don't go into the huddle. And sometimes a huddle can cool you off too. Sometimes when you stand out there, you have too much time to talk to that official.
3rd and 7. They give to Johnson. And there's nothing there. Try to surprise him. Now here comes Casey. A field goal would make it 23-14.
Emmitt Smith really isn't playing today. I mean, he's not pounding that ball up in there in the run, and he caught a pass and ran out of bounds, and again, this is a fight. I mean, this is a fight to get to a championship, and this is a game that they need Emmitt Smith. I mean, if they get the ball, or when they get the ball back, they need Emmitt Smith.
Casey from 40 yards. Good snap. Casey's kick is good. 11:41 left to play. 23-14 Carolina. Casey's kickoff goes deep and into the end zone. Kevin Williams downs it there. Carolina leading 23-14. Aikman back to throw. Pass is incomplete, intended for Kelvin Martin.
That Sam Mills has been all over the place today. I mean, this is his game. I mean, if you run at him, he's been right there. You run away from him, he's been there. And even on a pass, watch him get back there. Here's Sam Mills, number 51. Watch him get back here and play that zone and get that hand in there, that left hand, and knock that ball out of Kelvin Martin's hand. Guy's been all over the place.
2nd and 10. I think Kelvin Martin was surprised to see Sam Mills back so close.
He shouldn't be.
Aikman gives on 2nd down to Emmitt Smith. Greg Cragen made the stop after Smith got 3.
There's Greg Cragen. Every play he gets up, he has to adjust himself because he has the toughest job in the place. I mean, he has to line up here, and he's going to get double teamed all the time, but he has to hold that point, and he does. You see how he holds it and then comes out underneath, and how he comes out underneath and can make the tackle. That's an amazing play by Greg Cragen.
Loud crowd. Aikman back to throw it. Martin gets the first down. The defenders slip down.
Yeah, they're a loud crowd, and they get loud on 3rd down when their defense is in there. That's the loudest they get. In fact, they not only get loud, but they all stand up. There's 70-some thousand people here. It's a sellout. And when they get 3rd down, watch the next time the Cowboys get 3rd down, this whole stadium stands up.
1st and 10.
Like they're standing up on 1st down.
Yeah, waving those flags. Emmitt Smith gets the carry, but a flag on the play.
22, offense.
22, of course, is Emmitt Smith. But Johnny Greer is saying that he moved before the ball was snapped, that he moved forward. And again, here's Emmitt Smith, and a back can move laterally. Of course, he can go in motion, but he can't move forward before the ball is snapped. I don't know. He just gave a little twitch.
That goes back to that loud crowd we were talking about.
Yeah, they were loud on 1st down. But that didn't look like he was really moving forward, though, before the ball was snapped. That was maybe a little twitch, but that was a tight call.
1st and 15. Aikman back to throw. Has time. Gets it out to Emmitt Smith. And Emmitt ducks under tacklers at the 30.
Yeah, there's been something wrong with Emmitt Smith all year. I mean, he hasn't played like Emmitt Smith maybe a couple games, but he's not playing like Emmitt Smith today either. You see what they do? You see all those players look up on both ends of this stadium. They have those jumbotrons where they have the replays, and they all look up to see if they could have done something else.
2nd and 12. The reverse coming to Deion Sanders. Aikman got a block. Deion still on his feet. Sanders will get it. Dallas 1st down. Aikman threw the block and sprung it.
That was a pretty good block. Some guy took him on the square. It was Lamar Lathan. But watch, here's Troy Aikman, and the ball is going to come from this way. He's going to go and make the block right here. Watch him. He's going to take the ball, and he's going to hand off. You see, and then we're going to get the handoff right there. And there's Troy Aikman. Boom, right there. He makes that block.
Pretty good block.
Yeah, that springs Deion Sanders. He hit Lamar Lathan just square. He squared up on him.
Deion got hurt on the reverse, and he's over on the sideline now.
That's what they always said when Deion was going to play offense. Wait until those defenders got a chance to hit him.
Yep. 1st and 10. Aikman back to throw. Incomplete. Intended for Bjornsson. And a flag on the play. Against Carolina.
Yeah, that's out in the area where Tyrone Poole is. You know, they've been calling him on the other side. On Kevin Smith was him, and that one I think they got the right corner, Tyrone Poole.
Holding, 38.
Right.
Defense.
Tyrone Poole.
First down.
Yeah, that is Tyrone Poole out here. And you see again, he makes the jam. And I guess they thought that he just brought his left hand down there. That was a pretty good call. That was a pretty good jam. They could have called holding right there if they wanted to, but I thought that was a pretty good jam by Tyrone Poole.
First down. Emmitt Smith gets to the Carolina 45. Brett Maxey made the stop. That's Deion Sanders down on the ground.
Yeah, they got him. He made a first down on that reverse play, and about 5 guys tackled him.
Clock is running with just over 8 minutes. 2nd and 6. Herschel Walker comes in motion. Aikman fakes the pitch, throws the screen. Back to Daryl Johnston. Johnston surged for a first down before he hit the ground.
Let's look at that reverse again, Pat, where Deion Sanders got hurt here. There's Troy Aikman's block. Boom! That still is a good hit. And well, just watch. It's right here. He just gets hit right at the end of it. He cuts back, and there's 1, 2, 3. I mean, just that one shot coming in, it looked like maybe on his shoulder. But there was about 4 white jerseys on top of him.
Deion still down. First down, Cowboys. Johnston goes in motion. Aikman to throw it. Pass is caught somehow by Bjornsson, and a flag on the play. Another flag on the play.
And I think that's going to be against Tyrone Poole again.
Johnny Greer.
Although that's
We have
Brett
a completed
Maxey.
catch. A pass interference. 39 defense will be declined. First down.
What it was on Deion Sanders, Pat, it was a blow to the head. You're going to see it, Sam Mills right here. I guess that's it.
I don't know.
That doesn't look.
Sam Mills blow.
Right
like
there. You see the hand right there, but that doesn't look like a knockout punch to me. I think it's just a whole bunch of guys on top of him is what it is.
1st and 10, Cowboys at the Carolina 35. Aikman gives to Smith, and Smith finds some room. Emmitt Smith around the corner. Emmitt finally out of bounds at the 9.
That's what they needed. They needed Troy Aikman to throw it. They need Emmitt Smith to run it. They need that big line to block it. And here they're going to get it. You see they get the lead. They run right at the lead. Daryl Johnston again making a good lead block. Pat Terrell misses a tackle there, and then Emmitt Smith gets about another 15 yards after Pat Terrell missed the tackle.
There's that dangerous zone for the Cowboys inside the 10. First down.
I think they got to throw.
Johnston on the move, and Aikman will throw behind Kevin Williams. Deion Sanders still down over by the Cowboy bench. This game is presented by authority of the National Football League and intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Carolina Panthers and the National Football League is prohibited. 2nd and goal at the 9. Aikman. Johnston. Removed out of bounds inside the 5. Excuse me.
I was just going to say, Pat, that this is the area and the down that they really have the problem is this 3rd down inside the 10-yard line.
It'll be 3rd and goal at the 3. Still checking Deion Sanders. Ty J. Armstrong lined up in the backfield. That's Emmitt Smith who comes out. And Aikman who drops to throw it. Fires. Incomplete. Incomplete. Now they got to take the field goal.
Well, they needed a field goal. Being down 23-14, they needed a combination of a field goal and a touchdown anyway. So the thing that Troy Aikman wanted to do there was throw to get the touchdown. If he didn't, they're going to take the field goal because they need a field goal anyway. See, now if they get down there again and Carolina doesn't score, then they're going to need a touchdown. That was a good throw. I mean, that was a good throw. That ball has to be caught. I mean, that's right. That just goes right out of Bjornsson's hands. I mean, it's right into his hands and right out. He has to catch that one.
Bonio hits the field goal. 23-17.
We're going to have a heck of a finish right here on Fox.
Are we ever? Bonio kicks it off to Michael Bates at the goal line. Bates has got an alley. Still on his feet. Tripped up. Bonio just got a hand on Bates and tripped him.
If Bonio doesn't make that trip, that could have been a touchdown. Because Michael Bates is one of the fastest guys in the league. Watch this. He breaks here. The only guy here is Bonio. And watch him right here. He's going to make that thing. Oh!
Wow. That was close. 23-17 Carolina. This is Deion Sanders moments ago being helped onto the cart. As we come back live, 1st and 10 at the Dallas 49. Johnston. Let's see what happened to Deion if we run it back again.
Now remember, it was the end of the reverse here. You just see 4 guys hit him, and the first thing that hits the ground is his head. So it was just the 4 guys hitting him and just driving his head right into the ground.
And the force on top of Deion. Carolina taking all the time they can in the huddle. 4:40.
And this is Derek Frazier down here now, who's playing this right corner for Deion Sanders.
Here's Collins going in right in that direction, and Frazier makes the play. Willie Green made the catch. Frazier was right on top of it.
I was going to say that's the thing to do, though. When you see this and you see a new corner come in, you go right to work on him. That's exactly what the Panthers did. They just went on that little fade stop where the guy goes like he's going to go up, and he just stops, and Kerry Collins throws the ball while his back is still to him.
3rd and 3. A monster 3rd down for Carolina and for Dallas. Collins back to throw. The blitz coming. Incomplete. Incomplete. No flag. They're hoping for one.
Yeah, they were trying to get a flag out there on Derek Frazier. You saw Willie Green. He's saying he grabbed his arm. Here it is. It's man-to-man out there. There's Frazier. He's looking in, and they're just trying to throw him the ball. Willie Green put his hands on Frazier first. I think if there was any call there, that would have been an offensive call.
It could have been against Green. You're right. And so the punting team comes on. Kelvin Martin is deep. Ron Stark back to punt it. High kick, and Martin looking up. Let it bounce. And it's going to bounce dead at the 1. If the Cowboys are going to do it, they're going to have to go the length of the field.
Pat, watch the guy who makes that play here. It's Anthony Johnson. Of course, he's the starting tailback who's already run for 99 yards today. And we talked about him being on special teams. Here he is on punt coverage. First guy down there stops that ball from going in, and then Dwight Stone jumps on it right there. But that Anthony Johnson is something. I mean, he's been doing everything today.
1st and 10 at the 2 for the Cowboys. They have 98 yards in front of them. They need a touchdown. Here's Aikman. Throws it into the ground. Nobody open.
You know, one of the tough things about this position, and Aikman is real mad because he doesn't have a go-to guy now. I mean, he doesn't have anyone that he feels real comfortable with, and I'm sure half the guys are running the wrong pattern. and Troy Aikman is a perfectionist, and he's not getting the patterns that he expects. But I was saying, one of the tough things about throwing the ball out here, if you get a penalty in the end zone, it's a safety and 2 points. So if you hold in the end zone, that costs you 2 points.
3 wide receivers this time, including Billy Davis. Here comes the blitz. Aikman gets rid of it. Kevin Williams makes the catch. Aikman's hit just as he fires.
Troy Aikman was ready for this kind of game. I mean, he knew it was going to be this way. He knew that he was going to get the blitz. He knew that there was going to be free guys and that he was going to have to make throws and take hits. I think he got one hit from Lamar Lathan, who is still down. Then he got the other hit from his own guy, Eric Williams.
Aikman is headed over to the sideline. This is not a Dallas timeout. Lathan is still down in the end zone, but Aikman will have time to go over to the sideline.
You're right. Here's Lamar Lathan here. He's going to come from the outside. Now Troy Aikman is going to throw to his left, and he just back out. Lathan hits him. Then watch the hit that he takes from his own guy, Eric Williams.
Yep.
I mean, that's getting hornswoggled. What was that happened to your grandfather?
Got whipsawed.
Whipsawed, yeah. That's the old whipsaw. I mean, Troy Aikman got whipsawed, one by them and one by his.
Lathan still down. Today's game is being produced by Bob Stenner, directed by Sandy Grossman. Technical producer is Bob Mueller. Associate Director Rich Russo. The broadcast associates Mike Roig and Fran Morrison. The studio is produced by Scott Ackerson, directed by Bob Levy. The executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorin and David Hill. On first down, Aikman. Incomplete. Kevin Williams, the intended receiver, Eric Davis.
That first down was a big play to get that ball out of there, because now of course they have to worry about getting first downs, but they don't have to worry about that safety anymore, that getting a penalty in the end zone. Now what they have to worry about is getting some first downs. So
Another first down.
That's what you think about here. You don't think of scores. You know you have to score a touchdown, but you think from here in terms of getting first downs.
2nd and 10. Aikman has time. I don't know if the ball slipped or he just threw it away.
I think he's upset with his receivers. I think that he's back there and they're coming on blitzes. The Panthers are in their nickel defense now. They're giving them a lot of coverage. I didn't see anyone open, so I think that he kind of just brought that ball down and let it go because he didn't want to throw an interception.
He's saying, take off, take off.
And I think that this is what you just watch here. He says right here, just take off. I mean, he just wanted him to run. Then he should have just thrown it and make him take off.
3rd and 10. Aikman looking for a first down. Incomplete. A flag on the play. Tyrone Poole.
Oh, this football's getting so tough today on that penalty. Yeah, they got to do something in the offseason about that. It's just way too subjective. Anytime you see a pass thrown, you see a flag coming out, you don't know what it is.
38, defense, first down.
That's another one on Tyrone Poole. You see, here he is right here. According to here, see, he's up there so he doesn't get the jam. He doesn't get the hit. Now, if he gets there before the ball, then it's a penalty.
He did.
If he gets there after the ball, then it's not, or at the same time as the ball. But that was a split second before the ball got there.
1st and 10, and Aikman drops again. Firing deep. Incomplete. Billy Davis short-armed it.
Oh, they had that. That was that double coverage. And again, Eric Davis looked like he didn't take off. Watch him out here. You see, here's Eric Davis here. When he starts to go by him, Eric Davis just kind of lets him go. And if that ball would have been inbound, or if Davis gave him a little more room, that would have been a completion. Because I can't believe Eric Davis. You either have to get up there and hit him, or you got to run underneath him.
You can't
do something for that safety to get over there.
Can't be nonchalant like that.
Ooh, he's way too nonchalant on that.
2nd and 10. Aikman again. Over the head of Davis.
Yeah, but sometimes you wonder if these officials in calling those penalties don't make the corners a little nonchalant, because even on that one, you could see Eric Davis covering, and he didn't want to make an aggressive move, not because he's not aggressive. Heck, he's a Pro Bowl corner. He didn't want to make an aggressive move because he didn't want a pass interference penalty.
3rd and 10. 2:37 left. Davis comes out wide right.
Look at this crowd.
He has time. Flag on the play. Pass is caught by Kelvin Martin, but a penalty marker down.
You see that look on Dom Capers' face. He's just trying to get something to get the ball back, and this is another penalty against the Panthers.
They only used 7 seconds.
You know, who would have thought that in the playoffs that Troy Aikman would have to try and win a game with Billy Davis as a wide receiver? Kelvin Martin, who wasn't even on the team at the beginning of the season.
Defense. First down.
First down again. Tyrone Poole called for holding.
That's a 3rd or 4th penalty today on Tyrone Poole. It's been Tyrone Poole on the Panthers side, and it's been Kevin Smith on the Cowboys side.
2.5 minutes left. The Cowboys still have all of their timeouts remaining. Here's Aikman. Going deep. And the pass is intercepted. Pat Terrell comes up with the interception. And Terrell down the sideline, knocked out of bounds at the 19-yard line of Dallas. A dejected Aikman, a dejected Emmitt Smith, and the throne and the crown are slipping.
That was really forcing it, throwing it in there. You had to make something happen, trying to make a play. He throws it up there. There's double coverage. The second guy was Pat Terrell. Look at that. Troy Aikman knew that he threw that interception. He didn't expect to have to get back into it at the end. But if he doesn't make that, Pat Terrell scores a touchdown.
Aikman and Emmitt Smith finally knocked him out of bounds.
The Cowboys do have all their timeouts, so they can get the ball back.
Johnson over the right side.
We're going to fight there.
Fracas trying to knock the ball loose, I'm sure.
I saw Frank Garcia throw a right hand.
Did you?
Yes, I did. I saw him clobber.
2 minutes on the clock. Anthony Johnston.
There's Roger Staubach. He was on the field before the game with both owners. Jerry Jones on the left, Jerry Richardson on the right. Roger Staubach in the middle. Came here to be at this game.
Roger could make some things happen.
Yeah, he sure could. He was, you know, if you were going to be in a tight one, you wanted him on your team. I think you wanted him on your team anyway.
Still.
Class.
Again, the handoff to Johnston. And Casey will come on for another field goal attempt. Jerry Richardson, the owner,
and his wife on our left, Jerry's right. What a bunch of pride they had. I mean, this whole town, this whole, you know, atmosphere here, and, you know, and playoff and having a team, and I mean, they're so proud of their team. Look, they're having their tailgate out there. They're getting all this food, and look who shows up.
How'd you like to have one of these burgers?
Yeah, big old meat.
There's Roger.
There's Roger Staubach having a big old meat sandwich. Roger will get a freebie. He'll be out. Who would have thought Roger Staubach would be out at a tailgate party at a Carolina Panther playoff game?
From 32 yards away, Casey. Again, he's good. (26-17). And we'll have, barring a real drastic turn of events, a new Super Bowl champion when we broadcast in New Orleans, John.
And who would have thought that the Dallas Cowboys would lose in this round, but that the winner would be the Carolina Panthers? Who would have thought that in the championship games there would be Jacksonville and Carolina included? What a job those clubs have done. And of course the Green Bay Packers. You can't forget the job they've done to get the home field, to get that game at Lambeau. And then Bill Parcells, the job that he's done in New England. Congratulations to the Patriots. Congratulations to all of them, because if you're in professional football, that's where you want to be.
And
that's everyone's goal.
Two expansion teams, two teams just 2 years old. The first time since 1991 that neither Dallas or San Francisco has not played. Both eliminated. They had to play an extra week, both of them. And that takes its toll. But you should get something for winning the division championship. Casey's kick is high and deep. Kevin Williams will down it in the end zone. Just one of their timeouts left now. Aikman is still flinging. Lathan takes him down at the 10.
Well, is that Lamar Lathan something? I mean, he is so explosive. He comes from all over. They don't only put him on the outside, but watch, here he is here. He just comes, and he starts up on the outside, then he decides to come to the inside, and once he decides to come, he really explodes, just boom, like he's shot out of a cannon.
A lot of enthusiasm out to Emmitt Smith, and down he goes, taken down by Lathan. You know, you look ahead, and you hate to start saying it's all over before the game is really over. Jerry Richardson has to be very happy. But there's a lot of work to be done in Dallas.
Yeah, there is. And, you know, we talked before the game that the distractions they had this week with Eric Williams, Michael Irvin, and all those distractions that it does bother them. It has bothered this team.
Aikman is intercepted by Sam Mills. And Mills is stopped at about the 1. He looked as if he wanted to get on the ground earlier.
He wanted to, and then with the type of game that he's had today, it's just too bad he didn't score just to finish it off. Put the frosting on the cake. What a day for Sam Mills.
And Lamar Lathan.
But Sam Mills has been all over the place, stopping the run, stopping the pass. Here you see him just playing zone. He gets an interception here, and like you said, Pat, I think he was ready to go down right there. And then he wanted to go down there.
He did go down.
Yeah, he did take a knee, and then he said, heck, there's no one going to tackle me. I might get a touchdown. And if it weren't for Larry Allen, he probably would have had a touchdown.
11 tackles for Sam Mills, 1 interception.
I don't think a person in this crowd is left.
No.
And this is the first time that we've been here, but I'll tell you, I've been here since Thursday, and I've been impressed with everything about this team, this town, and this organization.
You have to be. The stadium is a state-of-the-art. Emmitt Smith was never himself the entire year.
The champions have been dethroned here. And maybe it even happened before they got here.
Yep.
But the glory has to go to Carolina. I mean, the way they played today, the way they played all season, the way their defense and Kerry Collins and Dom Capers coached, the way they put this team together.
There is no extraneous noise. He tells you exactly what he thinks should be done, and he gets it done.
Well, you know, he not only tells you what he thinks and gets it done, but he tells his players. one of his players, Sean King, missed some meetings, and he suspended him this week for the rest of the season.
And they finally got him with the cold dose. Barry Switzer came over and said something to Don Capers. Switzer almost looked relieved. There's Don Breaux talking with Aikman.
This place is going wild. This is what it's all about.
Oh, we talked about that in the beginning of the broadcast. There's Kerry Collins.
And the finality of it for the losers, the winners knowing that they're going to the championship game. And next week, they'll be playing at Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers. Troy Aikman did everything he could to win this one. He just didn't have enough guys.
Didn't have people to get the ball to.
Didn't have the weapons. And he was playing against a tough defense that was going after him, too. You got to give credit to that defense.